The 2025 NFL Draft is in the books for the San Francisco 49ers. Here's the list of your players. What's the grade that we're giving, and how are we feeling? Stick around right after this.
Welcome, everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte.
I'm Jason Aponte. This is 49ers Talk Instant Reaction. Day 3 of the NFL Draft is in the books. The entire NFL Draft is in the books in Green Bay. And the San Francisco 49ers use all 11 of their picks. I went through the first 4. Obviously, Michael was the first night with Andrew. We talked all about that. I'll recap everything all together to kind of give the overarching view of the entire draft class. Alfred Collins and Nick Martin, and Upton Stout, we talked about that yesterday as well, too. Those are separate videos that are on the channel. So if you want to go over there and check those out, you can. But I do have updated thoughts, especially pertaining to Nick Martin, who wasn't on my radar. So, again, we're going to go through all of these guys, and we're going to talk about them in the totality of the draft class. So while you're here, guys, please just drop a like. Make sure you're subscribed if you're a brand new viewer. And all right, let's get into it. So the first pick was obviously CJ West of Indiana. I love the pick because, one, my father is an Indiana Hoosier. I'm a Hoosier. But, yes, defensive tackle, run stuffer. Again, the emphasis on run defense was evident from the start. And every single pick, 1 through 5, so far was addressing that. CJ West profiles like a DJ Jones. That's a comp courtesy of Kyle Posey of Niners Nation, the big boss man, the editor. So the 49ers are definitely getting back to 2019, right? And what that defense looked like under Robert Saleh. Alfred Collins, CJ West, Upton Stout looks like K'Waun Williams, Nick Martin. I don't want to say that he's Dre Greenlaw, but he plays as crazy as Dre Greenlaw. And I get the vision, right? Like, you don't have to understand the player himself, and especially after digging into him last night. And I'm sorry if I look really tired. That's why I'm putting myself in a smaller screen. Hold on, maybe I can fix this and maybe make it look better. Let's see. All right, that's fine. I just haven't slept. I haven't slept much at all. But I did do some digging in when it came to everything as well, and all these guys, and especially Nick Martin, because I wanted to know more about him. But CJ West, Alfred Collins, Nick Martin, Upton Stout, Michael Williams, this is all in the name of run defense. Upton Stout and John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan talked about this. Looks like K'Waun Williams. And that's what I thought initially, especially because I did dig into him a little bit, because I do love covering DBs and everything as well, too. So run defense was the emphasis all the way for the first 5 picks. Jordan Watkins is somebody who's a speedster, a burner, somebody who can return punts. And there's an emphasis on special teams and speed. And that's the common theme of anything that has nothing to do with, the defense. Aside from Jordan James, they back-to-back Jordan picks. Jordan Watkins, Jordan James, Jordan Elliott. What's the limit on Jordan players? But Jordan Watkins is a burner, and he's somebody who can create separation. This team is desperately lacking in Yak last season, and that's something that he can help with, especially being a punt returner as well, too. So Jordan Watkins, round 4, 138. And then round 5, 147, Jordan James from Oregon. The comp that I have for him is Devonta Freeman. He may not be as fast as Devonta Freeman, and the RAS score doesn't jump off the screen, but he'll be great in the zone scheme and essentially a power back. So think Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason wasn't exactly a burner himself as well, but he's very good as well, too. And think about how well he produced in this scheme. And when you think about how well the scheme pertains to running backs and how well they do, and if it's an undrafted guy or if it's not, Jordan James is going to have a chance to be able to play. So you have to look at the running back depth chart. It's Christian McCaffrey right here, and Isaac Guerendo, and now Jordan James is going to get his shot. And I'm sure the 49ers are going to bring in some undrafted free agents as well, too. So we again, this running back room is far from finished, and obviously Patrick Taylor is there as well, too. So, and then Izzy, I can't remember his last name. I just can't pronounce it, so I don't try. I need to get on that. But Marcus Nigel from Kansas State, I love this, man. If you watch the combine, he was just blowing up. 4.3, he's got all the speed in the world, can play center field. I think he feels like a little bit more of a free safety, which will allow Malik Mustafa, if he does start, to kind of roam into the box and play a little bit closer and again, run defense, right? I like this pick a lot. I really do. And, it's speed, right? And being able to cover. And I think that's what he's going to be as a center fielder. And he's going to be somebody who's going to be able to free roam as a free safety as well, too. So he'll have his opportunity to start. Jair Brown and Pinnock and all those guys, obviously will figure into the competition some way. But, round 5 is nothing to sneeze at because Talanoa Hufanga was taken in round 5 and the 49ers were itching to get him on the field. So I wouldn't dismiss him either, as somebody who isn't going to be able to compete right away. He might be able to start. The funniest pick of the draft so far for the 49ers, round 7 quarterback Curtis Rourke from Indiana. So that's 2 Indiana Hoosiers, by the way. March 1st, I sent out an amusing tweet saying, it's that Isaiah Stewart meme from the Detroit Pistons where he's trying to get to LeBron. And I'm like, the 49ers trying to stop Kyle Shanahan from drafting Curtis Rourke with one of their last picks. Yeah. Of all the picks to nail, yeah, I don't get it, man. I mean, I get it, but I'm just saying, like, of all the picks to get right, like I did extensive work on players that I really enjoyed, draft crushes, guys that I thought the 49ers would fit, and then like, me putting 2 and 2 together with Curtis Rourke, and his skill set and how Kyle Shanahan was gonna love it. That's the one pick I get right. But yeah, Curtis Rourke, pick 227, and he'll be a practice squad guy, most likely, as it'll be Mac or he'll be the emergency third quarterback as it'll be Mac and Brock. And man, that's quite the three quarterbacks. So, obviously the emphasis on this draft and what everybody's going to push back on is offensive line. Connor Colby is a guard from Iowa. First team Big All 10, first team All Big 10, third team All Big 10 the year before. And he has experience at left guard, right guard, and he's actually played right tackle. So what does this mean? Ben Bartch has obviously been kind of the placeholder for left guard. Spencer Burford is going to, figure into that as well. But Colby might have a shot right away to start. Obviously right guard is Dominic Puni is done, but Colby could start at left guard. Like, I think that highly of him. Very good in zone blocking, which is exactly what the 49ers need. If you're looking for offensive line, I honestly thought that they would go and address it with the tackle. I like Jalen Rivers from Miami. That didn't happen. He wound up, coming off the board. But Connor Colby is solid, at 249. And I do think that he is one of the later round guys that will have a chance to really, really take a starting job, and again, first team All Big 10, third team All Big 10 the year before, has experience at left guard, right guard, even played a little right tackle. If you're asking me right now, let's just say April 26th to give a prediction on, who's going to be starting. Obviously, Trent Williams, the left tackle. It's going to be either Connor Colby or it'll be Ben Bartch. Close your ears. Jake Brendel is going to start at center probably. And then right guard, Dominic Puni, right tackle, Colton McKivitz. So I think it's a little bit interesting in terms of how the 49ers are going about this offensive line, because there is a world next season where Trent Williams and Colton McKivitz leave, because I think Colton McKivitz is going to get paid more than the 49ers are comfortable paying him. And obviously Trent Williams has a chance to go, and move on into retirement. And I'm glad that you brought it up. Spencer Burford is the backup to Trent Williams that at left tackle, right? And maybe that's the 49ers thinking, is we have a guy that's already in-house that's a replacement in case Trent goes. And again, let's table the discussion for how the 49ers value offensive line and how they put the pieces together, because I think we've talked about it. It's just they value their in-house guys and they have a plan, and the scheme is supposed to alleviate all those things. And we get all that, right? But it is going to be interesting because Colton McKivitz is going to get paid next year, and the 49ers are not going to pay him, so he's going to wind up walking. What does that mean for the rest of the line? The only other, I guess, interesting portion of the offensive line would be Jake Brendel against Matt Hennessy. And I think best case scenario is if Matt Hennessy can regain his form, because remember, Drew Dahlman replaced Matt Hennessy as center in Atlanta. If Matt Hennessy can regain his form, that's a great thing. Obviously Jake Brendel's here on a cheap contract, but Matt Hennessy could be the guy low key that could be the center as well too. And it just means that again, with this line, I just wanted an upgraded center. And I think that's why we were all in on Drew Dahlman. And there were guys here that we could have, but I feel good about the Connor Colby pick. So again, I'll do Trent Williams. It'll be Colby or Barch. I have to watch how this plays out a little bit more. I will be at training camp, so I will be able to watch that. I'll take a look at that. Center, obviously, I do think it's going to be Jake Brendel, because they've been telling us constantly that Jake Brendel is the pick. And then right guard, obviously, Pooney, and then right tackle, Colton McKivitz. But it is going to be interesting to see how this goes forward, because I do think Colton McKivitz is going to get paid moving forward. So I guess this is the time, right? Michael Williams, Alfred Collins, Nick Martin, Upton Stout, CJ West, Jordan Watkins, Jordan James, Marcus Siegel. I don't know who wrote this. I didn't write this, but it's there. Curtis Rourke, Connor Colby, Junior Bergen. Oh, I didn't even talk about Junior Bergen. Junior Bergen, 252. I'm sorry. Wide receiver out of Montana, special teams ace. Had the only player in the Sky. What is it? The Big Sky Conference, whatever it is, where Cooper Kupp played, that had more return yards than Cooper Kupp was Junior Bergen. So special teams edition. He has a highlight reel of returning kicks as well too. If he makes the team, that's primarily what he'll be used as. But it's going to be hard. You still have to round out the 53. So I almost forgot Junior Bergen. I apologize. Wide receiver from Montana. The Big Sky Conference is what it's called. The only other player, I think, with more return yards or more yards per return is Cooper Kupp. So special teams ace for Junior Bergen. And Jordan Watkins can field punts as well, too. Maybe this, again, this signifies a little bit more for Jacob Cowan. And I would love that, because I love the pick at Jacob Cowan. So Michael Williams, Alfred Collins, Nick Martin, Upton Stout, CJ West, Jordan Watkins, Jordan James, Marcus Siegel, Curtis Rourke, Connor Colby, Junior Bergen. What do I give this draft on a grade basis? I am going to give it a solid B. The first 5 picks are clearly all Robert Saleh's. And you know what? We complained about the run defense. Day one, this run defense is already better. Day one. The Nick Martin pick, at first, I was indifferent, just because I admittedly didn't do much intel on him. I see somebody who's a little bit smaller than Dre Greenlaw. I understand the Dre Greenlaw play style comp. Size comp, it's not really the same thing. But he does play like his hair is on fire. If I noticed anything on film that I watched, because I did stay up all night, that's why I look so tired, is a guy who just needs to control that aggression. And it sounds like Dre Greenlaw as well, too. Control that aggression, because you're overshooting your gap and you're missing your guy, and you're letting somebody run through you, because you're trying to arm tackle, because you're not controlling that aggression. So the 49ers clearly have a type. And he plays like Dre Greenlaw. Is he going to be Dre Greenlaw is the question. And anybody that was going to be brought in here to be a linebacker was going to be a replacement for Dre Greenlaw, right? I think we knew that. But digging into him a little bit more, I see the vision. And there's that video that's out there of Nick Martin running down Xavier Worthy. That's no easy feat, because that young man can fly. And he has that burst, and he has that finish at the end, where there's another play where a quarterback takes off and he's standing still like in his stance as a linebacker. And he takes off and he breaks on the ball. I get it. You want to say, hey, they found their Dre Greenlaw. I see the motor. I see the aggression. I see the aggression that needs to be controlled. But I'm going to stop short of saying, hey, that's the Dre Greenlaw replacement, and 1-for-1, they found Dre Greenlaw, because I do think that's a little disrespectful. I do see the similarities in those ways, but I'm not ready to jump out the window and say those things, but I see the vision. Again, not knowing the player and not liking the player at the spot or whatever doesn't stop you from seeing what the team is thinking. And I think this takes me into my next point. Well, you know what? Let me just finish up. Upton Stout, K'Wan Williams replacement, a guy who they can blitz off the edge, was pretty good in coverage, very good run defender. Size is one thing, heart is another. He's very good. I like this pick a lot, even if it is a little bit reaching up. CJ West, getting him at pick 114 is absolute value. I love it. Again, Collins and West, how do they fit in? That's going to be interesting. Who plays 3 tech? Who slides over? We're going to figure that out. Obviously right now, as it stands, CJ West is a run stopper. He said he hates centers. He hates quarterbacks. It's a good, again, traits. What are the 49ers looking for? That dog mentality. Those are the guys that they're kind of looking for. And again, Jordan Watkins, burner, speed. They're looking for that sort of separation. Can return punts as well, too. They're looking for that yak element. Again, we don't know what's going on with Brandon Ayuk to start the season, so this makes sense. Jordan James, somebody who I've comped to, Devonta Freeman. If you want a closer comp to where the 49ers have been, probably Jordan Mason, and that's fine. Doesn't need to be a burner, but could be somebody who plays very well in his own scheme and is somebody who is going to be able to, produce in short yardage areas. And obviously Frank Gore is the one who gave the stamp because Jed York has been hilarious. I'm not going to lie. At first he was annoying me, but he got really funny as it went on. Marcus Siegel, I love this pick. Speed, center fielder, probably your starting free safety if all things break right. I'd be really, really disappointed if Jason Pinnock started over him. If it's Jair Brown, that's great because the 49ers invested a higher pick in him. That would be great. I'm fine with that. I'm always down to support Tig, but I could see him starting week 1. Curtis Rourke is just your obligatory Kyle Shanahan pick, as the third quarterback. I'm not too upset with that. Connor Colby is somebody who definitely can start week 1, proficient in zone blocking, played left guard, right tackle, first team, all Big Ten, third team, all Big Ten the year before. And Junior Bergen is your special teams ace from Montana. So yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see how this goes. So I personally gave this a B. And I want to preface it by saying that it's a B with a chance to turn into a higher grade, especially if all of these picks come to fruition. So I think we got, let me take a look. I'm sorry. Let me take a look because we have hold on a second. Do we have undrafted free agent signings? Let's see. Okay. Corey Kiner, Cincinnati running back. So another running back, just like we were saying. Wasn't going to be enough for just Patrick Taylor, all of those guys. Lynch says the 49ers intended to target more O-linemen, but ended up drafting one. There were a number of times it just didn't align, and we didn't want to force things. Oh, that's good to hear, at least. Let's see. Nick Nash to the Falcons. That was San Jose State wide receiver Nick Nash. Let's see. I think that's it. Right now. So the 49ers have signed a running back, undrafted free agent running back, Corey Kiner from Cincinnati. Got to do some work on him. But all right, Gojira. Let's do it. Well, first of all, before we get into the offensive line talk, I want you guys to drop your grades on these players. Just the draft class, not undrafted free agents, anything like that. And if you're here, please drop a like on the video. Appreciate that. A lot of good content coming down now that we're going to have a chance to talk about actual football players that are going to be on the 49ers as opposed to just random draft prospects that we like that'll never be drafted. So let's see. Ariel says B. I agree. I gave it a B as well, too. I think that's fair, without being too out the window optimistic. I'll admit the Nick Martin one kind of caught me off guard last night. But I see the vision at least. Gojira says C plus to B minus. Hey, I'll take a B minus. B minus is still. If I brought a B minus home to my mom, she might be a little upset, but she can't be too upset. Like she wouldn't ground me for it, And Matt McHose, 5 likes. Let's go more than that. Come on. We got a nice number of 69 people in here, all on YouTube. Please, guys, just hit that like for me. It really helps out a lot. Tony Nagatani, channel member, appreciate you, gang. B. I agree. I gave it a B. Matt, again, B+. B+. He's loving that Curtis Rourke pick. Gotta love that Curtis Rourke pick, man. Can't have enough quarterbacks. And Tony and I were on the Curtis Rourke to San Francisco under Kyle Shanahan train. And of all the picks to nail, man, like there's so much work on Jalen Noel and Kyle Williams, and Trevor Etienne goes to Carolina, and it's just I'm watching all of my draft questions just poof go out the window, and me sending out a meme tweet is the one that I can go back to and say, oh, cool, here it is. I called this draft pick, especially coming off of last year when I was able to see the Isaac Guerrero and Jacob Cowing thing happen. This one is just it's right up my alley to get a meme right, Leon Sandcastle, I'm glad your son got drafted. I really like 7 of them. It's going to be really competitive camp. Can't wait to see all the UDFAs added too. Yeah, for sure, 100%. And again, that's the thing. It's like Junior Bergen's going to have an uphill climb trying to get onto the 53-man roster. I don't think Connor Colby does. I think he absolutely is going to stick around. Curtis Rourke's your emergency third quarterback, so I don't know if he contributes to the 53. I'm not sure how that works. I think on game day they'll just have to demote him, something like that. But Siegel, Watkins, West, Stout, Martin, Collins, Williams all make the roster right away. Jordan James, you'll be in the mix, but again, McCaffrey, Juszczyk, Guerrero, I think they really like Patrick Taylor. And then, of course, if you have an undrafted free agent, how can you not look at him as competition and say that he's the next guy who comes out of nowhere and blows up in this roster? Like, who would be shocked if the kid from Cincinnati ends up being a training camp warrior, hero, right? Like Jordan Mason. Like we were telling, the 49ers about Jordan Mason, and I mean, obviously they saw. But what we mean is we're like, why isn't this guy playing more? Who would be shocked if the undrafted free agent doesn't outshine Jordan James, right? And then we can all say, oh, well, look, you drafted somebody and you found an undrafted free agent. For me, if it's 2 guys, I don't really care where they came from. If one of them is producing, I'm good. Let's see. Affirmatively, got it. B+ CJ West and Nick Martin. People are really excited about that Nick Martin pick. I'm not going to lie. Justin K says B+ high on Upton and West. I like Upton as well, too. And, of course, Indiana Hoosier CJ West is going to get all of my support as well, too. Justin E, B+. I mean, Justin E, Justin, you're always digging into the draft, man. So that's just, high up, man, But, how could you not give this a high B when there's 2 Indiana Hoosiers that joined this team? I'm having fun. Again, my father went to Indiana. I'm a Hoosier, but Indiana's known far more for basketball than they are football. It's just really funny to see this kind of shift now when it comes to this. Obviously, the 49ers, Indiana's had some successful football players. Antoine Randall L jumps out the mind. And Tevin Coleman went there as well, too. But they're not generally known for that. And it's funny to see the 49ers double dip with them as well, too. Gojira agrees with me. Undrafted free agent more likely than the drafted grad at making an impact. That's how it always goes. You draft Trey Sermon, then Elijah Mitchell in the 6th round does better. You draft TDP, then Jordan Mason comes out of nowhere and he hoops. I mean, I think it's such his life with the 49ers draft. And I thought it was funny because they finally allowed Kyle in round 4. They were like, all right, buddy, get on in here. You can take your pick. Come on, And it almost felt like Robert Saleh was telling John Lynch, let's let him have a pick. Come on. Almost like when you're playing your brother in PlayStation, but you unplug the controller and you just leave it there, and he thinks he's playing and he's just really happy he hasn't recognized it yet. But yeah, it just felt like, again, these first 5 picks were all going to be Robert Saleh. Like Robert Saleh was running things, like he kicked in the door and he's the one who takes care of it, So let's see. I love the Rourke pick, great processing and big time and big guy, good arm. My guy Mellett went to Las Vegas, though I was so mad. I think that's what Kyle sees in him too. Processing, timing, all those things. That's what I saw, and I'm like, well, I was like, this is a perfect Kyle Shanahan quarterback, somebody who he's gonna love, and whatever. I joked my way into getting something right. B+, also by Leon Sandcastle. Rourke, bad knee, noodle arm, bad pocket presence. So this is directly against what was just said. by Shador's pops. So I don't know. I don't think he has a noodle arm. He just doesn't have a rocket arm. But he is coming off. He played through a torn ACL. We found that out today. I think Jennifer Lee Chan was the one who tweeted that through the press conference. But he's an emergency third quarterback. And it's fine. I don't expect much, from him. Taking him at 227. Now, if you want to look at this a different way, at 227, taking a quarterback that, again, has a bad knee and is probably just going to be an emergency quarterback, is that a waste of a pick? It's round 7. It's fine. I'm not really too worried about it. Matt says, quick recap on Watkins. Again, speedster, he can return punts. I think this opens up Jacob Cowing, as was said by Quachipo. It opens him up to run more routes and not have to worry about that. Pretty good at punt returning. Again, speedster, yak. I think he has a little bit that he needs to work on as a route runner, but I do think there are going to be plays that are going to be drawn up for him because he is so fast, and that speed element is what's needed as well too. So yeah, I think that's what it is. Mac as well. Matt, Big Mig, let's go, bro. Appreciate you guys again. 72 people in here. Make sure you guys drop a like on this, please. That's all you guys can do. That can really help me out to support the channel and help it grow as well too. We've seen some good traction these last few days with the draft content and everything as well too. It's really cool to finally talk about football players and everything as well too. Okay, Big Mig, what's the plan to protect Purdy? Let him run around and pray. Well, I made a joke that the 49ers were looking out for Brock Purdy by not drafting any new linemen, so he didn't have to buy them any more new cars. In terms of like watching his pocket, he is a newly married man. You have to watch that. But they've always had a higher opinion of the offensive line group than we do. Always. Kyle Shanahan. I think Jake Brendel's been one of the top centers in the league. We don't agree with that, but they do. I think the person that gets unfairly criticized, and I'll stick to this, and I'll double down on this, is Colton McKivitz. When you consider his contract and the value you're getting, a starting level right tackle for $2 million a year, it's insane value. It's insane value. But on the flip side, what are you investing, right? You're paying a lot to Trent Williams. Obviously, he's the best in the world. Dominic Puni is going to be cheap for a little while as a rookie, but he's going to eventually get paid. What's his role look like? Do they value the guard position a little bit differently because of Puni, because they just let Aaron Banks walk in? I'm fine with that, especially when you look at what Green Bay paid him. They think that the upgrades are in-house. Matt Hennessy is going to get a shot to compete with Jake Brendel. Spencer Burford can kick out to left tackle. I think Connor Colby has a better chance to start than people are giving him a credit for. But I think the placeholder right now has to be Ben Bartch. But the discussion's always going to be about how the 49ers value their offensive line and how we value it. And when we look around the league, the 49ers were an average unit. I'm going to say that one more time. An average unit. Not below average, not terrible. There are plenty of other teams that have far worse offensive lines than the 49ers. And I'll double and triple down on that. But it's clear at center, Jake Brendel's eroding. Very solid the first year. Looked like you had some found gold. Slipped a little the next year. But then they make the Super Bowl. And then slipped some more last year. Where do we go if this continues, right? So if you think that the 49ers are dead set, I think in their minds, they believe perfect world, Jake Brendel is going to start week 1 and they're fine with that. But signing Matt Hennessy off of the practice squad when they're like out of contention lets you know that they're still evaluating and they're still always going to put themselves in a position to look at guys. And they feel like Matt Hennessy returning from the injury again. He was replaced by Drew Dahlman, who everyone wanted as center in Atlanta before his injury, finished his career there. I think it really just gonna boil down to what's the combination. If it's Trent, Colby, Matt Hennessy, Puni, and McKivitz, okay. And that means that Matt Hennessy outplayed Jake Brendel, which means it's technically an upgrade. How much of an upgrade is going to be the question? Because you can be an upgrade and still be a liability somehow. And Jake Brendel at times was a liability. I think we all know that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, especially with a need as big as offensive line going into this draft to only finish with one. It's going to raise eyebrows for 49ers fans. It's going to raise eyebrows. And John Lynch saying, hey, we thought about it a few times and we wanted to, and it just didn't align. We didn't want to force something. I like that last part. We didn't want to force anything. I like that last part for sure. Because I think the 49ers have found themselves a little bit in those positions based on forcing things. But it's hard to look at this fan base and look them in the eye and say, hey, listen, we just got this one lineman when this has been a point of contention for the 49er fan base and protecting Brock Purdy, and you're about to pay him, and so I kind of like what he's saying about what's the plan to protect Purdy. Let him run around and pray. I think there's a few other things tied to offensive line, and this will be my final thought before, guys, if you have any other questions, let's take them. Let's do it. I'm going to crack a beer because I'm exhausted with all this draft coverage, and I cannot wait to unplug at least a little bit and just chill out. But I think the part about offensive line, too, is quarterback play. Our guys getting open. And for the large part of last year, guys weren't as getting themselves open. And at times there were some sacks that were on there because Brock didn't let it rip. Offensive line play is tied to quarterback play. Quarterback play is tied to wide receivers getting open. I think all of those things need to be considered. When you look at raw data and you look at raw stats and you say, this is how many pressures he allowed, this is how many sacks he allowed, it leaves out the context of what happened. And an example is, I don't know if you guys saw at the Atlanta Falcons social media team, after they traded up for James Pierce, they posted a rep against Kelvin Banks, which James Pierce sacks Quinn Ewers from Texas. The rep wasn't on Kelvin Banks. Ewers held the ball for 30 seconds, didn't step up, and even when it was done, Banks won the rep, but he gets dinged for the sack. And that's the part that look, I'm not telling you, I'm not trying to change your mind on anybody. I'm not trying to tell you don't know what you're looking at, anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying each play to play, has context built into it that is important. O-line plays tied to quarterback plays tied to wide receivers getting open. At times, wide receivers weren't open. At times, Brock Purdy was holding the ball a little bit too long. At times, linemen were getting their ass kicked. So I don't think the 49ers offensive line is as terrible as people make it to be. I think it's a league average unit. And if you don't think a league average unit is good enough, then that's completely fair because it is average. But I can assure you that there are other offensive lines that are far worse than the San Francisco 49ers. And I do think that if you're going to criticize them for anything, it's that Kyle Shanahan believes my scheme can lift. My scheme can fix any sort of shortcomings because the ball needs to be out at this time. And if it's not, that's on you, quarterback or wide receiver. That's the part, I think, right? No offensive lineman is going to hold up for 3-4 seconds. Just impossible, especially in this league. Ball needs to be out. But a wide receiver needs to be open. And I think Kyle Shanahan continues to believe that he and his scheme can lift that up. And I think that's a lot of frustration from 49ers fans. That's my offensive line talk for the day, right? Shout out to everybody in here. Almost 35 minutes, 82 people in here. Guys, please drop a like, and I'll take any more of your questions that you guys have. Let's hang out. I'm going to crack a beer real quick. Just give me 1 second. But yes, any questions that you guys have, anything that you guys want to talk about. It's been a long 3 days, not much sleep, because I've been digging into players and trying to do the science. Unfortunately, the only pick that I got right in the pre-draft process was Curtis Rourke. And that was supposed to be a meme. It was supposed to just be a joke and be funny. But yes. And again, for anybody that's new or wasn't here before, I'm giving this draft class a B with a chance for it to turn a little bit more higher, because if these guys all turn into what exactly we think they're going to be, then it goes up higher. Justin says, I mock Collins, West, and James. I'm kind of hyped. Justin's tapped in, man. He's always doing a good job with the draft. Appreciate him. Kobe Bryant not being drafted was a little bit of a shock, but I think he's a very good slot corner. But Upton Stout was moving, and he can run in, at the combine. And they look at him like K'Waun Williams. I don't think they look at Kobe Bryant as a fit. Again, you have to remember, like, what is Robert Saleh looking for? K'Waun Williams and Upton Stout. He believes that Nick Martin can bring, like, Dre Greenlaw vibes. Alfred Collins, CJ West, DJ Jones, possibly one of those guys can be I'm not even going to say that one. I'm going to shut it up and take it away because I don't like that idea. Alfred Collins or CJ West is not DeForest Buckner or Eric Armstead. Let's make sure we get that out of here. Michael Williams might be used similarly, but I forget where I saw the comp, and I'm just like, when did Alfred Collins and CJ West turn into DeForest Buckner? I think that's a little disrespectful to DeForest Buckner. Hey, if that's the truth, then yeah, that's great, but I just don't think that. Wolf Life Wild, Aponte the Man, appreciate you, gang. Matt McHose, no chance for Drake Nugent. Maybe. I guess I'm just gonna go with the pedigree of Matt Hennessy. He's been in the league longer, has more experience, but maybe. Any UDFAs, I would love Kobe Bryant to be brought in. That would be really cool. I have to take a look at the list though, because I just jumped right on right after the draft was over, and going in on that. Shu Longo, are we seeing Nick Bosa with 2 rookies starting to? You're seeing him with 3. I think all these guys start. I'm interested to figure out where they line up Collins and West. But Collins, West, Williams, and Bosa. And then you'll have Kevin Givens and Evan Anderson and Yetur Gross-Matos. I think that those are the guys that are going to start right off the bat. So 3 rookies in Bosa. But if I had to put a good face on it, I think Michael Williams' skill set not only suits what the 49ers want to do in the wide 9 in terms of containing the edge, but his skill set complements Bosa. And that's really important as a pass rusher. So if West and Collins can be those space eaters and menaces up the middle that occupy blocks, then you can't double Nick Bosa and you can't double Michael Williams. And it's going to be pretty fun to watch how this happens. And I also do think that while these guys are developing, Robert Saleh is going to implement the plan to use more exotic looks, have 4 and 5 guys show up from different spots, maybe have Michael Williams stand up over a guard, bring him on a stunt, bring him the other way. Like, I do think that part of his scheme has to evolve, because in 2019, it was just rush 4. And I don't think you can do that because you don't have the upfront talent of just Buckner, Armstead, Bosa, and D Ford. So I do think there's going to be different ways that he's going to get pass rush pressure. But it is going to be 3 rookies and Bosa most likely. Yetur Gross-Matos was probably your dark horse. But if I had to guess, given the way that this draft went with the first 5 picks, I do think those guys are going to be starting week 1. Let's see. I think that, and Matt agrees because, Matt's smart. Let's see. Hold on. Leon Sandcastle, I think there's going to be a great competition for left guard and center. Yeah, Ben Barch, Spencer Burford will be in there somewhere, and Colby. But if I had to guess, I would say Colby, because he is really good, and that's a really good find later on in the draft. Steven Rodriguez says B grade, 100%. Bosa and Williams run some stunt, and Martin runs behind them on 3rd down to smack the quarterback. I will say this: another thing that I noticed about Nick Martin when I was watching him was how Oklahoma State utilized him as a pass rusher. He had about 10 or 11 pressures, and I think like a bunch of sacks. That's another thing that we're thinking about. And if you're thinking about what the defensive scheme looks like, is you have your big boys up front. West, Collins, Bosa, Williams, those are going to occupy the blocks. And you have the smaller, faster Warner, Greenlaw, and they're slipping through these gaps to stop the run because they're fast and they play fast. I think that's the whole idea of everything. The one thing that I would like to see a little bit more from Nick Martin is better in coverage from the 2 games that I watched. Just a little bit that needs to be desired. I think that's where the Greenlaw comp, you lose me a little bit because Greenlaw was so good. in coverage. And I think there's a large opinion out there that if Greenlaw doesn't get hurt in the Super Bowl, the 49ers finish the job. But the idea with these first 5 picks is the big boys up front are going to occupy these blocks and open up the gaps for these fast linebackers to get downhill, get through the hole, and stop the run. They weren't doing that last year, right? We had so many instances of Javon Hargrave being pushed across 2 gaps. Same thing with Malik Collins, who wasn't a run defender. It over and over, they were getting bullied up front, which was allowing these blocks. And by the time Fred Warner would try to shoot these gaps, these guys already had a head of steam, and they were coming at him in the second level. The idea is to occupy these blocks, stop the offensive line, have both of these fast, smaller linebackers shoot through those gaps and get back there to knock down the run. I think the 49ers run defense is massively improved, and it wouldn't be hard to improve on how it was last season either, off the bat. So let's see. James Schwartz. Why quarterback? Because Kyle. What's the best way I could put it? Because Kyle. It just seemed like such a Kyle quarterback. Like I he's gonna tell him elite timing and processing is really good, and we like the tape, and in this league, you have to be on time with the ball, and if you're not, the ball gets tipped, and that's when you get into trouble. But really enjoyed what I saw from Rourke, and I that something like that. That's what he'll say, pretty much. Mr. Faithful 49er, on paper, it seems to be one of the better drafts overall for Lynch and Shanahan. If they find a way, so they got 4 starters last year, possibly 5, obviously. You got Pearsall, you got Green, Pooney, Mustafa, that's 4 right there, right? And then, maybe Guerendo one day. But Michael Williams is going to start day one. Alfred Collins is going to start day one. I think Upton Stout is going to be there as the slot guy. By the way, 1 inch shorter, I believe, than DJ Reed, if I'm not mistaken, who was really good with the 49ers and Robert Saleh, and then with the Jets as well, too. And then Nick Martin, if he starts next to Fred Warner, CJ West, you can, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your top 5 picks could start. I don't know if you can have a better outcome than that. And you know what? Hold on, let me take a sip real quick, guys. Thank you again. 100 people in here, guys. Make sure you shoot a like. But I'm going to talk real quick about the 49ers board as opposed to the consensus, because it was so funny that John Lynch was talking consensus the entire time. Give me a sec. All right. 49ers board versus consensus. I believe it was a combine or 2 ago when I asked John Lynch, do you feel like you're in a position to go best player available and play the board, and what that process is like? And John Lynch said, we just like drafting good players. And I think that was, it's nothing and it's something. Excuse me. The 49ers board is far more drastic than the consensus board. The 49ers draft the player that they want, regardless of where it is. The Nick Martin trade, the Nick Martin one, you could say, hey, you could have had him in the 4th. But they don't care. That's the guy that they desired with their traits. Alfred Collins is perfect value at 43. Michael Williams even could be looked at as a little bit much. But the 49ers just have their own board. And every team's board is drastically different than the consensus. I want to make sure I make that clear. But the 49ers absolutely do not care about consensus, don't care about anything other than getting their players. And you could look at that one of 2 ways. One, you can look at it as when you hit and you get somebody super early that maybe, you could have had later, you don't run the risk of having, somebody else draft him. But you're just like, hey, we don't care where you drafted him. If you drafted a baller, you drafted a baller. But when you reach and the guy busts or doesn't pan out, that's when the criticism comes in. So whatever way you look at it, are you happy that the 49ers are so convicted in taking whatever guy for better or worse? Or would you rather they waffle around and kind of play the board and then just end up with somebody who they may not be as high on? I don't know. The draft is an imperfect science, but I'll tell you this. A great start to a draft, regardless of where you got them, is 5 starters with your first 5 picks. If Nick Martin starts right next to Fred Warner, and I think we all agree CJ West, Alfred Collins, Michael Williams are going to start with Bosa. That's, your 4. You're going to be your rotation. And then Upton Stout becomes your slot nickel guy, which obviously, you're probably not going to come out in that, early on base downs. 5 starters. And you know what? Marcus Siegel. 5-6 starters out of 11? It's a massive draft hit. How many teams are going to be able to say that? Now, other teams won't be able to say it because of different things. Obviously, there'll be people in their way and, roster politics. And, you have certain places that you're drafting for depth. But there's an open spot at safety. Marcus Siegel. Wes Collins. Williams. Starters. Nick Martin could start. What if he beats out D. Winters in training camp? Could start. And Upton Stout could be the primary nickel corner. 1. And wait. Connor Colby could start at left guard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that could potentially start week 1 and not start because you have a massive hole to fill. 7 because they're the best players and they beat out other players who are in competition. So yes, this is a B right now. But if you get 7 guys, and again, this is me shooting for the stars, doesn't mean that this is what's going to happen. Obviously, Jair Brown could win the job, and maybe they feel like they fixed him and other things can happen. Obviously, D. Winters isn't going anywhere, so that doesn't necessarily mean that Nick Martin automatically slides in, but that's a high pick for a linebacker. Think about the draft capital. If you can find a way to maximize and get 7 starters out of your 11 picks, how's that not a massive hit? And we thought last year's draft was a real big hit with 4 or 5 guys. But the 49ers don't care about the consensus. The 49ers don't care about where other teams are viewing guys. If they have the traits, if they have the character, if they have the mindset, then we're going to take our guy wherever we get him and before anybody else can even have a chance to think about it. Now, for better or worse, it's up to you guys how you feel about that. And I'm not telling anybody how to feel. It just seems very evident that that's exactly how the 49ers operate. We just draft good players is what John Lynch told me at the Combine. Doesn't matter the value. And if they are good players and they hit, I don't care where you drafted them. Do we care that Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft? Nope. Do we care that Talanoa Hufanga, while he was here, was a 5th-round pick? Nope. And I can go on and on. Do we care that Jordan Mason was an undrafted free agent last year? Nope. If you're good, you're good. I don't care where you were drafted, when you were drafted, how you were added to the team. It's the best way I could put it. Shout out to everybody in here, guys. Again, 96 people in here. Guys, if you're here, please just drop a like. That'll help me out a lot. 48 minutes in, recapping the 49ers draft. I've given it an overall B with a chance for it to be really much higher. I might have talked myself into a higher grade, honestly, after I gave that whole spiel about this draft class and how many guys could be starting. But, yeah, shout out to you guys for joining and everything on this Saturday. It's 8 o'clock on the East Coast, 5 on the West. It's been a long 3 days, man. I cannot wait to kind of just, cut back. Mike Jones says, could have had Martin in the 5th, wide receiver, quarterback, running back when you need O-line. Kyle is a joke. Yeah, I mean, again, the Martin thing, it felt like he could have, been found a little bit later. I think if this draft would have happened the year before, he would have been, this is just sweet spot. I think the 49ers were drafting him based on what they saw from the year before he hurt himself this year, which, only limited him to 5 games. So in that way, I understand that part. Wide receiver, cornerback, running back. They did need a wide receiver. I honestly, you would have been really mad if I was in charge, because at 75, I wouldn't have taken Nick Martin. I would have drafted Jalen Noel. So they did need a wide receiver. That would have made you more mad, I think, in my opinion, than it being, 138. That's why they're in charge and I'm not. So, quarterback, I think that's the one that is going to get everybody. Is quarterback in round 7, 227, which is about 22 picks behind Connor Colby, where you finally addressed the line. Yeah, I could see that. I could see you getting upset about that. Depends on who was there. I'd have to go back and look through it. Again, you might be more inclined to ask Brad Graham about it. That's the one that's going to stick out to everybody. But they did need a wide receiver. They did need a running back as well too. Hey, at least they didn't take a running back in the 3rd round. We can give applause to Kyle for that. But I understand the frustration. I don't think Kyle is a joke. I don't think he was involved in this draft very much, especially when you look at the first 5 picks. Those were all Robert Saleh picks. They finally let Kyle join the party for 2 picks, 3 picks, and this felt like Robert Saleh and Tariq Ahmad's draft as it did last year. Like they locked Kyle Shanahan out of this draft for a long time actually. So yeah. 111 people in here, guys. If you're here, drop a like. 118 now is jumping up. Make sure you guys, drop a like. And if you're new here, subscribe. A lot of content coming down the pipe. Obviously, Tuesday, Bully Ball with Steph Sanchez on the Gold Podcast Network, Gold Standard Podcast Network. Monday, Andrew and I are going to go through it all. But I give this grade, I give this team and this draft class a solid B. I think that's where we should be looking at it, but it has a lot of chance to be a much higher grade based on the fact that your first 5 draft picks are potential starters. For sure, 4 of them are. CJ West, Stout as the nickel corner, Collins and Williams. Those are going to be the guys that start, unless something happens, obviously, injury. I don't want to, knock on wood, that type of thing. But 4 starters right off the rip. That's really good, regardless. And if Nick Martin beats out D. Winters, then it's 5. And if Connor Colby in the 7th, because, again, Iowa, first team All Big Ten, 3rd team All Big Ten the year before, left guard, right tackle. He has experience at all 3 positions and proficient in zone blocking, which is exactly what the 49ers are trying to do. Connor Colby has a chance to start at left guard. And Marcus Siegel. Again, we have Jair Brown, we have Jason Pinnock, but right now he could be a starter. He blew it up at the combine. Could be absolutely center field, guy who can roam around and allow Malik Mustafa to roam in the box and be a missile and be a heavy hitter. Again, run defense. If you have a center field safety who is fast enough to get back, perfect, right? So look at this draft, and there are 5 to 7 potential starters week 1. That is a massive hit out of 11 picks. How many teams are going to get that? That's the way you need to view this. Let's see. Benali, thank you for the comment. Taking late round quarterbacks are good for teams. Where would the 49ers be if they hadn't done it before? Very good point. But why not take the better QB? I know Ewers was injured, but so was Rourke. I don't like Quinn, honestly. And I think it's not that I'm huge on Curtis Rourke, because if you were asking me about the sleeper quarterback that has a chance to be successful, it was Kyle McCord, but the Philadelphia Eagles drafted him for some reason. It's not like he's going to play over Jalen Hurts. I thought Kyle McCord was the guy that was going to be able to, that we were going to look back and say, man, we all got it wrong. I like Rourke over Ewers, but I think I wasn't particularly in love with either of them. But I think Rourke, processing, timing, that was all stuff that I was like, oh, Kyle's going to fall in love with this guy and fall in love with how he sees the game, right? I think for Kyle, when he evaluates quarterbacks, does he see it how I see it? Does he process it? Does he, like, when we go back and we look at the iPad and I ask him, what did you see? Did you see what I saw? Do you see it how I see it? And that's what him and Jimmy fought about the most, is Jimmy would make plays and then Kyle would say, at least on the sideline, like, that's not how you saw it. Like, that's not how you're supposed to see it. But it process over results, right? Like, that's kind of the way that you're looking at it. But I think Rourke sees it the way that Kyle sees it. Not that I'm big on Curtis Rourke, not that I'm big on Quinn Ewers, I just when I was watching him play, I was just like, that's exactly what Kyle would like probably think. Like, that's the throw, that's the timing, that is really like where it's at. So I could have went fine without either of them. But yeah, I don't know. Thank you for the comment though, Benali. Appreciate that. 1-1 that had cold. Yeah, I don't remember where I found this one. I don't know. My last job that I had was in 2020 when I worked at Lids. So anytime that I would go to one of the 3 states that I covered as a district manager, I would always run into like these little gems. And anytime I found a 49ers hat, because obviously it was New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, I would just buy it up. So I guess that's where I got this one from. Appreciate that though. Joe, I think we talked about it. I'm in agreement with you. Taking a quarterback when you could have had another offensive lineman, I'm not certain, and I'm not going to speculate, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I know or even try to make something up about which linemen were available. I would do the same thing. When I mocked Curtis Rourke to the 49ers, it was just based on Kyle. Just like Kyle looks, and he's like, oh, that guy, I see it. That's what I want. So, let's see. Vish Bell, the channel member, appreciate you, gang. There are still some good O-line talent undrafted. Logan Brown, for example. Willie Lampkin is out there, right? As an undrafted free agent. I think undersized linemen, we're a little bit scarred because of Jason Poe. Right? Oh, Jason Poe's gonna be a lineman and he's gonna be a fullback. Not gonna be anything. But yeah, the 49ers should absolutely add as many undrafted free agents. Willie Lampkin signed with the Rams. There you go. Whatever. Let them deal with that. I'm not big on him. So I don't really care. But yeah, they need to add as much as they can. And if they find somebody else, then cool. That's cool. Any state of the franchise this week? Matt, you got to ask Brad Graham why he's such a celebrity and why he doesn't mess with me anymore, man. Hollywood Brad is crazy, bro. The man, John Cena turned heel. I don't know, man. Brad Graham might have turned heel. That's crazy, man. You forgot about the little guys. That's insane, dude. Insane. But yeah, look, again, if you're looking at this draft, it's hard to not at least start this draft with a B, right? Why? Michael Williams, Collins, CJ West, starters. That's 3. Upton Stout's probably going to be your slot corner. So technically that's 4. If Nick Martin beats out D. Winters, which I'm not saying is some easy fit because I do think that the 49ers do like D. Winters and are going to give him every opportunity, that's 5. Marcus Siegel has a chance to beat out Tig and Jason Pinnock. That's 6. Connor Colby has a chance to beat out Ben Barch and Spencer Burford for left guard. That could be 7 starters. 7 in week 1. And again, not 7 starters because you have no one else who can fill the positions. Well, on the defensive line, you do. I agree with that. All right, let me take that back. But 7 starters out of 11, what would you give any other team that had 11 picks and 7 of them turned into day 1 starters? You'd give that an A. It's a B right now because I'm holding back because I don't know if Nick Martin's going to beat out D. Winters. I know the 49ers love D. Winters. I'm holding back because I don't know if Connor Colby is going to, beat out Ben Barch, and maybe they want to hold him for a little bit. But I do like Connor Colby because he's very good. And I'm gonna hedge my bet with Marcus Siegel and say maybe Jair Brown, maybe Pinnock. Maybe they find a way to maximize that. Because remember, Jair Brown was a high pick, top 100 pick. But if all these guys pan and you get 7 guys out of 11, what would you say about that draft? If that was Howie Roseman, the national media would be glazing until the end of time. They're glazing Howie Roseman right now because Jahad Campbell fell to pick 31 and Howie's a genius. No, he's not. The pick just fell to him. If you want to give Howie Roseman credit, it's for many other things. It's not picking Jahad Campbell at 31 when he fell to them. The Howie Roseman glazing is going crazy right now because Jahad Campbell fell to 31, and he knew the Kansas City Chiefs weren't going to take him. And he gave a 5th-round pick to move up one spot and draft a linebacker 1 that should have never been there at 31. But you want to give Howie Roseman credit. Like, oh, he's amazing. He's done way better things than that. That was luck of the draw. Jahad Campbell fell into their lap. But if this draft ends up with 7 picks that end up as starters, and that was Howie Roseman, they'd build a statue. They'd build a statue. How could you not look at this as a big hit if the 49ers end up with 7 guys, which is shooting for the stars, that start week 1? And let's say it happens all in year 1. Maybe it's 5 in week 1 because it's going to be Collins. It's going to be Williams. It's going to be West. It's going to be Stout. That's 4 right there. I think Siegel starts. That's 5. But if it was, and then Colby takes over, and then Martin takes over because D. Winters can't finish, and they end up with 7 by the end of the year, 7 out of 11. Come on. We got to be fair here. We have to be fair here. Injuries are going to happen. Guys are going to get their shot. It's the NFL. It's the 49ers more than it is the NFL because they eventually get injured. But yeah, if you get 7 of 11, that was Howie Roseman, if that was Les Snead, if that was any other high-regarded general manager, the national media would glaze more than Krispy Kreme. That's how you have to look at it. 5 starters, exactly. Look. 5 starters. That's incredible. We got 4 last year. 4. And we love that draft class. And we didn't have 11 picks. And again, when you evaluate draft class, a hit, there's a spectrum. A hit is a starter. A hit is a Pro Bowler. A hit is an All-Pro. A hit is a guy that sticks around on the roster sometimes. You have to look around. Hit. What is a hit? That's the thing. Everybody that you draft can't be all pros, but that doesn't mean that they're not a hit. If you're looking at this draft class and you end up, like Val says, with 5, that's a home run draft class. But there's a potential for it to be 7. 7. If it's 7, and that was any other general manager, they'd build a statue. That's all I'm going to say. 49ers Shaolin Style X, a lot of reaches, but they do fit in the scheme. I talked about this a little bit earlier. The 49ers just don't care about what the consensus is. We like our guy. We have our traits. We like his character. We're going to draft him. And if he's a good football player, I don't care where they were drafted. We won't ever look back at the Dre Greenlaw draft and say, damn, you guys reached on him. Why would you say that? Because he was so good. I don't care who the hell was drafted after. You drafted a really good football player. That's the way you've got to look at it. Now, on the flip side, if somebody doesn't pan out, they're not playing well, then you can look at it and say, hey, you reached and you missed. There's a little bit of a boomer bust draft strategy for the 49ers that when you hit on somebody who turns in an all-pro season in the 5th round or somebody who's regarded as one of the best off-ball linebackers in the league. But when you miss, it looks really bad. And that's however you want to look at it, whether you feel like that's too much risk to take in a draft or this is not the way that I would go about it. That's fine. But yeah, I agree with that 100%. Let's see. Joe Griffin says, remember, not a lot of the players drafted are going to be all pro bowlers, or Hall of Famer. Let's just wait and see how things unveil. There is a little bit of, and I tried to talk about this with Andrew, I think in the first round show, patience. But patience also needs to come with the fact that Michael Williams is going to start, Alfred Collins is going to start, CJ West is going to start. I think Upton Stout's going to start. Like, those guys, I expect them to make an impact day one. It's not that I'm not going to preach patience with them, because if they have a poor week one, I'm not going to sit there and like, well, burn it all. Like I don't mean it like that. But they are in line to start. They are. And if they don't, I think that's more of an indictment than anything, given the defensive line depth, and who would. Evan Anderson's very good, very solid. Kevin Givens is solid. They're rotational guys, though. Yetur Gross-Matos is somebody that's still a bit of a wild card. And again, going back to what I was talking about with Robert Saleh and how the defensive scheme has a chance to evolve, given Gross-Matos and Mykel Williams flexibility, you can wreak havoc having them both on the field and running stunts with both of them and sending them in different directions, because they do have that flexibility. Both can play inside, outside. But if they're not starters and it's like you run out there Bosa, Evan Anderson, and maybe CJ West, and and maybe Mykel doesn't start, and they're like, because I still believe the 49ers are going to sign Za'Darius Smith or something like that and add an edge rusher. So like if Za'Darius Smith starts week one, you feel really bad about that. I wouldn't feel good about that. Let's see. Brad gave the example of Latu. That pick was a big reach. I was never big on Cam Latu. But okay. About when you swing and you reach for somebody who isn't good. Okay, I got you, Vish. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I was never big on Cam Latu. No thanks. But hey, he whatever ended up with, I don't know, I think he's on Philly's practice squad or something like that. Isn't it like the prophecy, the 49ers draft somebody and then they fall into the practice squad of Philadelphia? Like TDP went there and Danny Gray went there, and they got rings. Oh, that's so gross to think about. All right, sorry guys. 141 people in here, man. We're going up. 141 people in here, guys. Please, if you're here, please drop a like. That helps me out more than ever. The best way to support the channel is to help to get more eyes on it. It helps the algorithm. A simple like on the video goes a long way. Really appreciate you guys. And if you're brand new here, consider subscribing to the channel. Monday will be Andrew Pasquini and I breaking down every pick on the Sprint Right Option podcast. Again, Bully Ball with Steph, and got a lot coming down because we have football players that we can talk about, again, and not possible 49ers. Now we have the list of 49ers, and I'm really, really, really excited about this draft class, actually. Shout out to Wolf Wild. Likes, comments, subscriptions, 100%. Let's see. Harris Sahab and Go Dubs for all my Bay Area fans as well, too. I hope Jimmy Butler plays tonight. The optimistic view is at least we didn't draft a kicker in the third round. You guys are like my friends. Because you're a longtime commenter, viewer. You guys are like my friends, but you guys are like my friends that are my childhood friends, and you guys like to piss me off. So I guess that means we're real friends. I don't know why you would bring that up. Like, why would you bring that up? A top 100 pick in the third round, and we're still, and we're still like, oh, ha ha ha, we drafted a kicker. You should be angry too. Oh, Jimmy's out there, and that sucks. Well, let's go, Curry. But like, you guys are making jokes about a kicker being drafted with a top 100 pick. Like, it's hurting me. It's hurting you. It's hurting you. A top 100 pick for a specialist. And I did see this, and I was waiting for people to tag me on Twitter. The Ravens did draft a kicker. Justin Tucker's a foul human being, apparently, and something bad is about to happen to him. So, yeah, but you know what? They took him in the 6th round. But you know why they're able to take him in the 6th round? When you start your draft with Malachi Starks as safety, and you're already the Baltimore Ravens, who have Lamar Jackson and a great defense and Derrick Henry. And then, you take your chance on Mike Green, who I think we all agree Mike Green's a good football player. But, the character issues are turning, like obviously turning people away. You can do that in the 6th round. You can absolutely do that because you're the Baltimore Ravens and you're in it every single year and you have a very good team. And Malachi Starks to the Ravens is like it's insane to me. But when you're a 49er team last season, or the year before that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the year before that. When your first pick's in the 3rd round, and you take Jair Brown, which we were all excited about at the time because we thought we were getting a starting safety. Still might be. And then the next pick is a kicker. And then your coach looks you in the face at the owners meeting and says, yeah, we didn't always draft for starters because we didn't need starters. That shouldn't just piss me off. It should piss everyone off. It's a ridiculous way to team build. Ridiculous. Especially given the success the 49ers have had bringing in guys off the street to kick. That's how you do kickers. I'm done. That's it. Done. So you guys are trolling me, but you guys should just be as mad as I am. 100%. Vish says Mike Green and Teddy is wild for the Ravens. They ended up with Teddy Buchanan and Mike Green and Malachi Starks. And they had 11 picks, just like the 49ers. Tell you what, man, their general manager, Eric DaCosta, I had a chance to ask him a question at one of the combines. That man is intense, and he knows what he's doing. They have a very good team. And they've just added to that, man. Couldn't believe it, man. Wi-Fi says, hey, guys, I made it. Wi-Fi, while you're here, man, drop that like, especially to everybody that's in here, 135 people. But, yeah, I like this draft class. I'm going to give it a B with the chance to change it to a much higher grade. Yes, there were reaches. But, yes, that's the 49ers strategy. They've reached on almost everybody. But Michael Williams is going to start. Collins is going to start. West is going to start. Stout is going to be your primary slot guy. Your safety might be Marquez. Nick Martin could beat out D. Winters. Connor Colby could beat out Ben Barch. That's 7 guys. 7 starters. Possibly. And it may not have to be week 1, but you could have 7 starters by the time the season's over. 7 starters out of 11. If that was any other general manager, any other organization, they would absolutely glaze. Absolutely. I think this is a very good draft. You know, you have to step back a little bit from the attachment to the players that you have. I had to. At 75, I wanted the 49ers to run up there and draft Jalen Noel. And Jalen Noel ends up going to Houston with Jaden Higgins. Iowa State boys both go to Houston. I can remove my emotional attachment to the players by seeing the vision. And that's where you really have to start to put this into perspective. And I did like what John Lynch said after the at his press conference, where he said, we didn't want to force things. And what bad organizations do is draft strictly for need because of the draft. And there has to be a little bit of a give and take with best player available, what's your board, and what's your need. Drafting linemen to draft linemen to say you drafted linemen is how you just end up with a bunch of guys who just end up doing nothing. So you can look at this a few ways. Are you happy that the 49ers organization is so convicted, fine, in these players that they reach for them? Or are they losing sight of the forest to look at the trees? Meaning there were players there that you could have had. You know, I'm not going to lie to you. When the Nick Martin pick happened and I went live, I said, man, I really would have liked Chris Paul Jr. or Teddy later in the draft. Once I remove that and I start to look at the player, which is what I did, all of last night, which is why I look so tired, I see the vision. Now, the vision doesn't mean that this is exactly what is going to happen, right? That doesn't mean that just because I can see where the 49ers were going that it makes it a good pick. I can see it today on April 26th, but we're not going to know until training camp and until these things happen. And then we'll get ourselves a clearer picture of exactly what this player is. And then we can go back and say, hey, you could have had Seti. You could have had this guy. You could have had Chris Paul. You could have had, you can do that. But if Nick Martin's a stud, I'm not going to go back and say, man, I kind of wish you would have waited a little bit longer or maybe draft. I don't care where you drafted him. If he's a stud is a stud is a stud. It doesn't matter where you draft him. But the 49ers open themselves up to criticism with the way that they draft because they have this board of their guys against the consensus. So it's hard to automatically project what every single one of these players are going to be. It's just a vision right now. And you can at least see what the 49ers were thinking. Now, does that vision get completed? Does it come to fruition? That's when we're really going to look back on this draft class and figure out what they are. That's the best way I could explain this. So, shout out to you guys. 126 people in here right now, guys. Throw a like in the comment. Throw a like underneath. Helps us out a lot. Brooks Subby, what's good? I'm feeling like this draft was a B-. Definitely could turn into an A. As crazy as it sounds, I would have liked Sanders over Judkins. Sanders over Judkins. I wanted Paul as well, but I'm okay with the path. Wait, Shedeur? Wait, we didn't say Judkins. Didn't Cleveland say Judkins and Shedeur? I'm confused. My bad, bro. Brooke, if you could clarify real quick. Are you saying that you wanted the 49ers to draft Shedeur? I think a lot of people have that sort of thought process just based on a value pick, because that's exactly what it turned into. There's no way Shedeur Sanders is worse than Dillon Gabriel. Like that's a slap in the face. Like Dillon Gabriel, like I'm good, Some of the guys that were taken ahead of him, that was just a little bit like that was a slap in the face, like a little bit. If they wanted to teach Shedeur a lesson, they should. They did. But I don't think Dillon Gabriel is better than him. But yeah, and then again, look, all right, so let's do the discussion. So I think the hesitation that a lot of people have is obviously, you bring in Shedeur, then you bring in Dion. But Dion's our guy, right? Right? The last time we won a bowl was with Dion. And you look at the way that the quarterback contracts are structured. And if I'm just guessing, the 49ers are probably going to give Brock Purdy 4 or 5 year deal, but the first 2 are going to be very heavily front loaded. And I'm sure they're going to try to put it out in one of those years. And that doesn't mean that they don't believe in Brock. They're just trying to put themselves in a position where, just in case things go wrong, just in case, you never know what could happen. I think the 49ers are definitely going to give themselves that exit hatch. But Shedeur and Brock, I'm okay with that. And then you know what you do? You trade Mac Jones to a team for a 5th, 6th round, 7th round pick. And you recoup a pick for Mac. And you can still, Curtis Rock's your 3rd quarterback. I think the thing is, for the teams that are completely set with their quarterback, like dead set elite, and I think there's still only 4 elite quarterbacks in football. 4. That's the list. Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar. And from any other given week, 5 through 15, 5 through 30, all of that stuff, it could be week to week. Could be Stafford, number 5. Could be Dak, number 7. Could be Baker, number 8. Certain weeks. I think what I'm trying to say is there's 4 guys for sure that nobody's replacing. And everyone else is interchangeable, including Jalen Hurts, who just won a Super Bowl. I'm going to stand on that. you keep taking shots on quarterbacks. And I love what I think it was Valor. I think it was Benali. I think it was Benali that said it in the comments. If the 49ers didn't take a shot on Brock Purdy, would this regime be fired based on what they did with Trey Lance? Any other organization that would have sent all that draft capital for Trey Lance, to have Trey Lance return that little in value, would be fired. Right? How do you beat that? Jordan Watkins. Okay, cool. Got you. How do you beat that? You beat that by hitting on all of your other draft capital and building this massive team around you. But Brock Purdy saved the 49ers, saved John Lynch, saved Kyle Shanahan. And why? Because they took a chance at the end. They took a chance at the end. You always try to take a chance at the end when you don't have one of the ones. One of them ones. And everybody's chasing one of them ones. So there's another thought process about, hey, what about, you continuing to look regardless just because you don't know what's going to happen? Well, that's true as well, too. But there's nothing wrong, I think, with continuing to evaluate that. That's why you see them take a shot on Curtis Rourke. Because what if? We don't know. Let's see. Wolf Life definitely would have created too much controversy in the locker room, I think. But how do you feel about the Niners consistently passing on the kin of Gores, the Rices, Sanders, and McCaffreys? Well, they didn't pass on Owens. So there you go. Brendan Rice isn't good at football. That's why they passed on him. Frank Gore Jr. remains to be seen. That one kind of felt like how could you not? Obviously they passed on Shedeur. I think a little bit of what you said about controversy in the locker room and things like that, and just trying to keep the peace because we're having a peaceful offseason for all intents and purposes right now, aside from the mass exodus of players. Luke McCaffrey's fine. I think Washington, they still have to develop him a little bit more. But I think it just boils down to the players. If we're drafting players just based on who their father was, Mickey Mantle Jr. would have been a baseball player. Bobby Bonds and Barry Bonds, that's a good one. Ken Griffey and Griffey, I'm talking about baseball. Then why is Michael Jordan's son not good? If you're not good, you're not good. It doesn't matter who, your father was. Sure, you got the good DNA, but Brendan Rice isn't good at football. And I people didn't like it when I said it, but I mean, it takes the man 3 to 5 business days to get out of a break. Jerry Rice, the GOAT. Brendan Rice, not good. Tariq Owens is here. We'll see, but which one of these wide receivers, including the one that they just drafted, are you jumping Tariq Owens over? I'm not. I want to see Jacob Cowing. Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk's coming, Demarcus Robinson, now Jordan Watkins. None of those guys. I'm not taking any of those guys down for Tariq Owens. No shot. So I think the name is fine. The name helps, gives you cachet. But I think if they were good football players, they would have drafted them. Other teams will take their chance, but I don't like Jerry's son. I don't think he's that good. Frank Gore Jr., we're going to find out. Shedeur, I do think it was a little bit about what you said about, just keeping things chill. Oh, I even forgot that we had Tanner Mordecai too. I forgot about that. And then Luke McCaffrey, I think, still has a chance to be a solid football player. We're going to see what happens. By the way, Washington smashed their drafts. I can talk all the shit I want about Adam Peters while he was here because he was given too much credit, but he's doing a fantastic job in Washington. I will never take that away from him. So, all right, guys, 113 people in here, almost an hour and a half. I am done with the draft coverage, man. Make sure you guys like this video on the way out. Subscribe if you're brand new here as well, too. And look out this week on NinersNation.com. No, I did not create the email. I didn't create the domain name, so please stop yelling at me. But it's the place that pays the bills. So NinersNation.com, all week you're going to find my writing on there, and it's going to be about all of the new players and all the new fits and how this is going to look. You know, it's an exciting time for 49ers fans because we have actual football players to talk about. And I do like this draft. I give it an overall B with a chance for it to be an A+ if we talk about all the circumstances that I was talking about as well, too. And shout out to Shannon Johns. Hold on, let me make sure I pull this up. Mr. Aponte, always love your content. Much love, man. Appreciate that a lot. And hope we got a super chat at the buzzer. Thanks a lot, Wolf Wild. Passing on those players makes me cringe just a bit when guys like Jerry Rice show so much loyalty and love to the organization. Like, goddamn, at least grab one. Thank you for the donation, by the way. I appreciate that. If there was ever a time that they were going to throw it at somebody, it would have been Frank Gore. Because when I spoke to him at the Combine, he said, yeah, the 49ers, we met with them. And Frank Gore works for them. That's where I thought it would have been. But I do think that they're like, yeah, Jerry, you know, I'll say this. Jerry Rice is my favorite football player of all time. Jerry Rice is the reason that when I was a kid, I joined the 49ers because my father was the one who put me on game. But Jerry Rice will be in front of any camera, any mic that you give him, you know, anything. Say anything. Go anytime. You know, like he's one of those guys that just wants to be in front of the camera. And obviously he has to be loyal to us. But let's say the 49ers weren't as like welcoming to Jerry. He'd be the same way with the Raiders. You know, he'd be the same way with someone else. Obviously, the 49ers are not going to shun him because he's the greatest of all time. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying Jerry, there's never been a camera or I know a camera and a microphone hates to see Jerry coming because he just doesn't care. He just wants to be in front of the camera. So he is loyal to the 49ers, 100%. The 49ers are loyal to him. Thank God. But yeah, he definitely is somebody who loves the spotlight and he knows that he can get it mostly from the 49ers. But I'm going to get out of here, guys. Thank you guys again. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Perhaps there'll be a video tomorrow. Let's see how it goes, but I need to rest, man. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy the time with your family. Drop a like on the way out. And as always, let's go Niners.
Welcome, everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte.